and welcome John Tinsley, the golf guru, the coach who knows it all.
Oh,
What?
no, 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 no. No, no. Don't say that. No, no, never. No, you can't know it all, mate. No, no.
Well,
But thank you for that.
the list of prize winners that you've got on the board at Rowney, that must be very satisfying for you, John. Must be.
Uh, Look, it's great to see people doing well. It really is. It's fantastic to see the improvement. And I've actually finished a 2-hour Zoom meeting with the coach, and really that what you've just said actually leads me to reflect on why I coach, and part of it is to share the journey of these people, not to take any credit or anything, but just to see how they grow and enjoy and learn. Of course, one measure is if they get the handicap down, another is if they win comps. And, yeah, but it's great. They're doing well. They're doing well, and they're enjoying it. That's the main thing. So that's the thrill of it.
So tell us, when did you start coaching? When did this become? I don't know. It's not your occupation, is it? Is it a hobby? It's
No.
philanthropic. It's some. I don't know. Where does it come from?
Where did it come from? Well, you have to go back a long way, Jed. I when I was 9 or 10, I was asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said teacher. And I was on the books at Wrexham Football Club for a short while, and I didn't take it any further. I wanted to teach. I played a little bit of county junior, only for a couple of years, junior county golf, and was assistant pro for a little while at Oswestry, which was a source of great pride. But I think not too long ago I was told that it was I was assistant pro, so that the pro there on a Wednesday could continue his affair with the secretary's wife. But anyway, so that burst my bubble a bit. But I qualified as a teacher. In fact, qualified with distinction, and I went into leisure centre management. I coached at a very high level swimming. I taught somebody to swim, took him to international level. He became a captain of the England junior side, national record holder. Coached international swimmers. I coached at a very high level in soccer, the Welsh FA. Coached at a very, very high level at squash. It's just been something that I've just loved being involved with. It's just like I was born to do it, really. And that's not saying I'm good at it. It's just born to share the experience, and also while I'm coaching, I learn a lot. I think it's some of the things like empathy, for sure, a lot of empathy with people and their struggles with how they want to improve and whatever. But I've got much more involved with the mental demands of the game, and how important it is that management of state on the golf course allows you to perform better. So that's really where it's led. So I've for the last 15 years or more, I've turned the passion of golf into this coaching situation. So I've followed quite a lot of courses to a high level. I've branched out from World Golf Teachers. I've used people like Fred Shoemaker, Seymour Putters. I'm doing a lot with Carl Morris now, and his experience with 6 major winners. And I'm also now doing a further NLP sports coach qualification as well. Not because it's important for me to get it for the sake of it. It's the learning process for me, and the angle for me as well is what can that allow me to give back to the people who want to enjoy the game so much, in the game which I think is just the most wonderful game and most brilliant sport you could ever take part in.
Well, just tell me there. I'm aware of Carl Morris. Of course, you brought him to the island, and I've even got his crib sheet is just on the cupboard by the side, and on
Right.
brilliant practice drills and so forth. But I don't think everyone will know about Shoemaker. What was it, Fred Shoemaker?
Oh, Fred Shoemaker.
What's his story?
Fred Shoemaker is probably, well, in my opinion, is probably the greatest golf coach that has ever lived and is living. He wrote a book way back called The Extraordinary Golf. He's got a company called Extraordinary Golf. He coaches out of Carmel Valley in California. He lives, I think, on the 15th at Pebble Beach. he travels the world, talking to big companies, executives, and whatever. Golf clinics. He came up with this idea in Extraordinary Golf about how it's about being in the body, about awareness, and a different way of coaching, a completely different way of coaching. In fact, it came about because he actually was a coach at a college. He wasn't going so well. He joined the Peace Corps and he went to a country in Africa. He saw a golf course there and he smuggled some golf clubs in and asked if he could play there. And they agreed. And when he turned up, he found that he was playing the regional champion, who was in barefooted with his local village all supporting. And Fred thought, I can't beat this guy because they thought Fred was the American champion, and so Fred thought, God, I can't beat this guy too hard. You know, he was a pro. I hadn't quite made it, but I mean, honestly, stunning character, wonderful man, so modest. And but if you go online and look on YouTube and see Fred Shoemaker, the art of the practice of practice, and just see him just settling in, hitting shots, just a wonderful guy. And anyway, he thought I'd better not outdrive him too much and whatever. And he couldn't notice this guy was playing bare feet with a smile on his face and hooping and hollering. And Fred was leading, but by the turn he'd come back to about all square. And then after about 13 or 14, Fred was one down. And if the guy had hold a putt, and then Fred said, I can't lose this, and started to try. And the harder he tried, the worse he got, and he lost. And they carried the guy off on the shoulders, and Fred said. And Fred, rather than looking at defeat, said, going, what the hell went on? Thought, why did it become so difficult for me, and why was it so joyous for him? So when you read about Fred, and I spent some time with him as well, and the work he does, and how he coaches, and how it becomes the answers are all in the person that's wanting to play the game. It's just a different thing, and that's why when everybody comes to me, I film front arm down the line, and I film throwing a club, because Fred found out that throwing a club was certainly one of the people to find out that when throwing a club, even those with the worst swing pretty well get close to a pro swing, and certainly in the hip position and everything else. So it's just a different way of coaching, and it's the person being in the body and being aware, and the person and the coach trying to get out of the person the feelings. You see, what he says is that you can only learn if you experience the differences between when it's okay and when it's not okay. It's those blind spots. And what he will say to you is, the key to success is knowing that you're in the shot, and where you lose it, where those blind spots are. It's just a fascinating and totally different. And I don't know anybody that's met him or has followed him that is not greatly influenced by the way he coaches and the way he is. He's just a fantastic guy. It was a privilege to meet him.
So, would it be fair to say that over the years, a lot of tuition has perhaps been a little bit too mathematical, a bit too much on geometry, club position, ball position, stance, almost forcing players new to the game or experienced in the game to be robotic and perhaps not thinking in that way, not thinking about the shot?
Well, I think it's that's an understatement, Jed. If I can be honest, I mean, I despair at some of the coaching that goes on, and it's only from a standpoint that I'm coming from. It doesn't mean to say necessarily that it's an only opinion I have, but I mean anybody that thinks that they read an article that says 30 ways to fix your putting or tips or whatever is going to solve a problem is just, in cuckoo land. If anybody thinks that going to somebody for a 30-minute quick fix is going to induce any long-term improvement, then they're just delusional, in my view. And if you think that the game is now about information and more, it's just information overload, and I will ask the question: does anybody think that we need more information? When I have somebody come to me who plays off 18 or handicap, and he said, "Well, I've been on TrackMan and I've got a club head speed of 95 miles an hour," I go, "So what? What does that mean? What are you going to do? What do you want to get to?" It's just absolute garbage. You see, 80 years ago or more, the average female handicap in America was 27 point something, and the average man was 17 point something. And 80 years on, despite all of the improvements with technology, the ball technology, the physical conditioning of people, all the rest of it, the handicaps are still the same. In fact, they might be getting worse. There's absolutely not a single stroke of evidence which suggests that the coaching methods that have been employed by 99% of those who are meant to be coaches has had anything but an adverse effect. And anybody that has a lesson, generally speaking, goes on the first tee if they're playing with their mates and says, look, I'm really not playing very well, I've just had a lesson. Well, I mean, how right can, I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get it. And the thing is this, you see, it's so technical and it's so in the body that if you go onto any golf shot, in any tee, in front any shot, in any situation, and you have an inner thought that is, are my hands all right, or keep it tight here, try to start the transfer there. It's a conversation you're having that you're just getting in your own way. It's impossible to get back as well from that question that you're asking yourself to hit a good shot. It's just impossible.
Okay, all right.
It's a crazy situation that we find ourselves in, and it's just been hijacked by big business and computers.
But I've got to ask you. You've got to understand the game to begin with. You've got to understand the basics, haven't you? There's probably
what do you mean? What do you mean by the basics? I mean, I do agree, but
how to hold a golf club and where to have the ball between.
There are 50 ways to hold a golf club.
I accept that, but you have to have an idea. So it's, I mean, when you look at the swings through the ages of the top players, not one of them is identical to another. Would you say?
Every swing on every tour is completely different, and it's interesting because in this 2-hour thing, in fact, we have an hour with Carl Morris on a Monday night as well. And one of the questions, somebody asked a question of somebody, and Carl said, "Look," I said, I remember I met a few years back in Asia. He said I met Tiger Woods' first coach, and he said I asked him, what do you think is the best thing you ever did for Tiger? And his response was, he said, I didn't ruin him.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
you know, if we have, after how many thousands of years of evolution, our bodies have a way of making an adjustment to compensate for something. So if you look at Kendall McQuaid, you'll say, you know, in fact, McQuaid will say that a shank is a result of a compensation for something. Fred Shoemaker says the yips is actually a way of trying to solve a problem. It's absolutely imperative that we understand that no two swings are the same. That the only thing that really matters is the delivery of the club through the ball to target. And 95% plus of club golfers take up a stance, take the club back inside the line, overswing a little, throw it out here, cast it a bit further, come in from right to left across the body, stall the body, swing it across here, fake a finish, and the ball goes left to right. And then what people then want to do to fix it is go internally. Well, it's not about internal, it's about external focus. You get the fix, not internal focus about where my hands are, what am I trying to do. It's about delivery of the club. It's about delivery of the club face, and you might fix the bit over the top if you started to say, well, I want you to hit the ball at this point and send it out as far right as you can. Something's got to change to get the ball on into that path line. The other interesting thing I find as well, I've just done it 3 times this week in lessons. I mean, I have a magnet, you see. You put the club face behind the ball, and most people are 30, 40 degrees left of ball target line. And nobody's said, look, you put the club face square to the ball target line. It's absolutely incredible. So, that, I mean, if you start off aiming for... Yeah, go on.
So just for anyone listening, this is a magnet. It's like a disc with a pole on it that you put on the face. And
I use a cheap one that you use to pick up stuff off.
Yeah, it points where the club face is pointing to. So
aiming.
That's the word.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can put a light. You know, I mean, look. Of course, you want to get the fundamentals right, and that's, you know, aiming on ball target line and parallel to, and understanding what that is, and ball position. And and fundamentally, what people don't understand is that where the low point of the swing is, and where the club has to meet the ground. Most people think that the club hits the ground just before the ball, but the club hits the ground just after the ball. And the low point of the swing is 3 or 4 inches in front of that. And the other aspect that people cannot get or initially is that the ball is never your target. The ball can't be your target, because if the ball was your target and you came across the swing and you knocked it 50 yards this way and 30 yards, then you'd be 100% successful every time because you fit the ball. So the ball merely gets in the way.
Just for clarity, really, and I've had lessons with you, and this is where you have an imaginary line in front of the ball, and your club is really aiming to hit that area. So you're hitting the ball early, before your true target. Really,
you travel through the ball to hit, so the club hits and makes contact with the ground on the whole side of the ball, in front of the ball, not at the ball and not before the ball, but in front of the ball. And if you consider the arc of the swing, and we swing in an arc, then the low point in that swing is actually 3 or 4 inches in front of the first contact point. If you look at the divots that the pros take, they start after they've hit the ball and they carry slightly deeper to 3 or 4 inches before they come up and release.
I can't tell you how important that is. That is absolutely vital, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's amazing how people's striking improves once they start putting a target and hitting the ground in front of the ball. And it might take them, several minutes. They can't believe that they can't hit the club, put the club to hit the ground in front of the ball. It's an amazing thing. And of course, that's why we play the game. We don't play the game for results. I mean, you can have a momentary indulgence in a great shot and a great score, but you're not. People think that making a great score is going to make them a better person. It doesn't make anything. It's long gone. It's long gone. It's all about solid hit.
Well,
it's all about solid hit. That wonderful feeling of the ball coming off the middle of the club face and away it goes.
Well, we all know if you've got a relatively clear mind, and sometimes you might go out and play a few holes, and maybe you're in a bit of a rush. And those can be the best shots you ever have, where you've got a game with friends, you're not particularly bothered about what the outcome's going to be. You might even just be playing with a pinnacle ball, from the bottom of the bag. And all the technology and all the chatter can go out the window, and yet you can have the purest strikes from an innocuous game.
Absolutely, and I'll take that a bit further, Jed, as well. Look, how many times, if you're playing golf a while, how many times have you gone onto a golf course and you've got a card in your hand, and that changes everything, doesn't it? When you get a card in your hand, but it shouldn't. There's no difference. You have a card in your hand, and you start off and you're absolutely going fantastic, and then you suddenly realise by hole 14 or whenever you think going great here, and then suddenly the wheels come off. But how many times you get to 12, 13, 14, and thought, I've really messed it up this time, and then suddenly you play like a god. It's just this chatter going on in your head all the time, the conversations you have with yourself. And I would love it if people could swing without trying to fix something.
Tell me about a zebra.
The zebra syndrome. It's fascinating, isn't it? You see, we have a habit as golfers not to accept the result. Now, I mean, you can't do anything but accept it, but you don't really accept it. It's always it's a bad bounce. I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. And then you take it to the next shot, and you develop, and one bad shot becomes another bad shot. And I say, surely it's just enough punishment that you're in 6 inches of rough or the bunker. Why do you want to make it worse? I mean, just take your medicine and move on. But zebra syndrome is quite interesting, I think, and it's an analogy. If you take and they end up hunting the zebra, and they pick out a zebra, and the whole herd panics, and the whole herd runs and gallops everywhere and rushes around, and and suddenly the lion's down a zebra, and then for a few minutes the herd calmed down, but they actually stand there and shake. They do shake for a few minutes. So my question is, once they've done that, what do they do? And now quite often people say they run. Well, they don't run, do they? They just get on eating grass again, right? And really, that's what we've got to do in golf, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just go back to it and stop the chatter. And stopping the chatter is interesting. How to refocus. It's a difficult skill to get, but it's an important skill.
I mean, John, you've been attached to my golf club, that's Rowney, Port Eyre in Isle of Man, for some time, and you've built up an academy, a golf school, a following. And looking at the prize winners on the leaderboard, at the presentations, your clan, shall I say, are top 5, top 10, top of the tree. It must be satisfying to see that.
Do you know? Look, it's great. Of course, it's great, but it's not down to me. It's down to them. I'm just saying it. Look, what you probably not aware is there's members of other clubs that have. I mean, some of the way that this methodology of coaching is as well, about not getting hung up on stats and information like that. Of course, you want to get the basics and you want to make the best of people's swings, and you want to get some fundamentals, and you want to get the balance of their approach and the acceptance and the refocusing and staying in the shot and all this sort of thing. It's absolutely, it does make a huge difference. The speed of people's improvement sometimes is absolutely breathtaking. It's incredible. I mean, I've had another player on Ireland that dropped 8 shots in 6 weeks and won a major competition and went from 16 to 8 in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I mean, it's absolutely stacked. Look at Finn. Finn. He went from 19 to 11 in about two and a bit months. And he's just shot 72. Now
I think he's off 7 now, isn't he? I think he's come down a bit more.
But
he's looking
shot 72.
He's looking like a 3 handicapper now. Is Finney? But
the
big difference is he's managing the course better and the game, and he's enjoying it more.
Yeah, look, I'm not good. I'm worked with Finn for a long time, but I'll take a little bit of pride in the fact that we did make some huge changes. Another one is Johnny Weir. I mean, Johnny Weir's swing now. If I showed you a picture of Johnny Weir's swing 4 or 5 months ago to now, it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
We'll have to ask Johnny if we can have permission to see.
I'm sure he'll be fine. I'll get him on
before and after.
Yeah, a massive improvement. Another thing, I think that the feedback, because what I do try and do with all of these people at the club is I do say to them, look, this isn't about me giving you an hour lesson, an hour and a half, or whatever, because we don't do 30-minute lessons. I might do a 30-minute review in a 1 month program, because I do a rolling 1 month program with people. It costs 50 quid, and this is not a punt for business. It's 50 quid a month. They get two 1 hour lessons. We set up a program of development. We monitor that development. I throw in 2 half-hour freebies as well, just in between, just for a reflection on how's it going, if we need to work on anything. The other thing we do is we set goals in terms of per hole, the greens in regulation, which is key to getting success, and also we set their card out to reflect what they believe their ability is at the moment. So in other words, let's say the 7th hole at Rowney, if for a lot of them, is a par 5, not a par 4. We don't go on the card. We don't stand on the tee and say, I'm going to drop a shot here, it's a par 4. We stand on the tee and say, maybe it's the 5th. We might say it's a par 6, par 7. It doesn't matter what it is. But we take that pressure off and they play to their own ability. In fact, I'm just got to... And anyway, that thing is 50 quid a month. No contract. I've got somebody that turns up, he's a appeal member, and he's off 17, 18, something like that, 17 point something. And we did this the other day. We actually sat down and said, look, what is it that, went hole by hole, said, what do you feel realistically you can make on that hole? And he's off 17 or 18, and I sat there and said, well, can you tell me where you are losing the 11 shots that you have in your handicap, because you've just knocked this round in 7 over.
Yeah.
And he's, and so what we then say is where's that difference? And And one thing as well, Jed, just comes to my mind of what that I heard this week, which I think is absolutely fascinating. I would almost guarantee that everybody that comes to me, and probably every other coach, will say, what is it you want? And everybody will say more consistency. Everybody. And I heard something this week which I thought, they said consistency is unattainable. Consistency doesn't exist in golf for anybody at whatever level. Everybody is inconsistent. So you cannot, if you accept you cannot acquire consistency, then what it's about is changing our relationship with inconsistency. That's the difference.
Exactly. The only consistency could be a gloomy thought at the end of the round.
Thought, yeah.
But no, I understand. I understand that. That is a useful concept because the game is dynamic. There's no question about that. No two rounds are the same.
No two shots. But I would love it. If well, look, you're captain of the club. You see the presentations. How many times do people turn up, having won the event with 44, 45, 46, whatever points? How many times does anybody turn up and say, "I'd like to thank my market, whatever"? Oh, and by the way, I left a few out there. It's just, it's absolutely staggering. And the pros turn up. They shot 64, and they say, "Well, yeah, missed a few and whatever." I'd love it if one of the pros had turned up and shot 78. And the interviewer said that was a bad day at the office. They go, "No, it's just fantastic. It just wasn't my day. I had a great time. Just had a great time." It's just it's the pressure we put on ourselves, and they think that we're going to be better thought of if we have a great score. It's just not what it's about.
And that is the true mantra that every time you play golf, it should be enjoyable because we're so lucky on the Isle of Man at the moment, and with 8 courses. And the memberships are flying at the moment. I was at Peel this week, and I spoke to Lewis there, and he said the competitions, they're hitting 130, 140, 150 in the golf week, which is beautiful. And we've got extra memberships, I know, at Ramsey, Port St Mary, and of course Rowney. So golf has got a resurgence. There's no doubt about that. And I think people like yourself who have been coaching, say, our members, they've enjoyed the game and they're bringing other members into the club because they enjoy it so much, and they share that. They share that experience and bring other people along.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. I like the idea of the social playing membership at Rowney as well. I wasn't aware of it till fairly recently. Not everybody is competitive, are they? But the game doesn't necessarily have to be. I mean, the game doesn't have to be. For a lot of people, it doesn't have to be. It's daunting to have a handicap and have a competition. Why should they have to? Just go out and have some fun and hit some shots and crack. And you know what? I do tend to think if people really got into it on the social level, they're more likely to stay and have a go at a 9-hole comp and whatever. Then suddenly find you've got a real active member in the competition. But I'd like to see more social golfing competitions, more foursomes, more greensomes and stuff like that. I think that's it.
But the problem that you have with golf clubs is that the operators, the directors, the committee members have been following a regime all their golfing lives, haven't they? Where it's a routine, it's week in, week out, it's competitions, it's medals, we build up to playing off the hard tees, making it difficult. And really, we need to change that. And we need to say to people, this is about exercise, fresh air, nature. When you've finished your round of golf, you could come in and have a beautifully made cup of coffee, a fantastically prepared pastry, cake, enjoy the sea view. And we don't really rest on that, do we? We don't look at that aspect.
No, I think it's sadly lacking, really. Or has been. I think you see it's traditionally. I mean, I go back playing over 50 years, and it was a golf course with a clubhouse, but really now it should be a destination which has got a golf course attached, shouldn't it? We need to change the emphasis, and we need to have a lot more social golf, a lot more family participation, if you like, a lot more acceptance of juniors playing in senior competitions if they're good enough. All of that sort of stuff, and make it more of a destination, and just family thing. And why wouldn't you? Why do people need to be spending 4 and a bit hours on a golf course to justify a handicap? Why don't we have a 9-hole, 12-hole, or whatever, and it count? I don't get it. I mean, when people come to me and we start off on an 8-week course on a clinic for beginners, I'll say to them straight off, I said, every shot you play other than on the green, you can tee it up. Just tee it up. Why do you want to make it hard? I mean, you're absolutely right. People want to play off the tips and make it as tough, and they seem to get some great satisfaction in shooting 110 on a tough course, rather than shooting 82 on an easy one. I don't get it. Because every course should have its challenge. I don't agree, for argument's sake, with holes of 200 yards plus as par threes. I just don't see it. 160, 180 yards maximum. You can make them tough. The three best and toughest par threes in tournament golf are all under 150 yards, 120 odd yards. You don't need it 230 yards par three, getting out a driver to get it on the green. For a lot of club players to make it a tough hole. It's just not, to me, it's just not what the game's about.
You shouldn't be terrified when you're stood on a tee, and maybe our addiction to competition in society in general, isn't it? We're in the rat race, if you call it, and it kind of filters into the golf.
I think golf competition's healthy. It's great. Have a golf competition. Great, fantastic. Have as many as you like, if you want to play competitions. But this doesn't. It's only one measure, or it's only one measure of your game, isn't it? It's just one measure. It's like people losing weight, thinking that the scales is the measure, but a lot of people, it's not the measure. Body fat index and all that. It's the measure that we hang our coat on, the hook that we hang our coat on, and it's history shows that it just hasn't got any better in 80 odd years. It just hasn't got any better. And this obsession with distance. Do you know, Jed, the club fitter I use in the UK, he's been voted, he's just fantastic. He really is fantastic. He was telling me just the other week that he's up to speed rev. He said there hasn't been a single technical development in club improvement in the last 10 years.
No. He
said there's nothing new. Nothing. It's just marketing hype. He said nothing at all new. Isn't that amazing? I said, you're kidding me. He said, no, nothing new. Absolutely amazing. And and that's why I love the hickory stuff as well. But getting a feel of that hickory ball off a lump of iron, that gives you that. If you get into it, that gives you equally as much thrill, if not more, than hitting something
Absolutely.
That's one of these brand new clubs.
Well, it's transformational, because there is a lot of gimmickry regarding equipment, and I laugh at the commercial bullshit, really, that comes out of the golf magazines and the YouTube channels galore about reviewing drivers. And there's one particular, you look at the TaylorMades, and every 3-4 months there's something new coming out for 400 quid, 300-400 quid. It's incredible.
Yeah. But look, what? You could spend 400 odd quid on the golf. Well, look, I went to the Orlando Golf Show last year, and I was dispirited by this end of the first day. Every single thing you saw was all about selling another product, selling another club, selling this, giving the false impression that it was going to make a blind bit of bloody difference. Now, there was all these shows going on and whatever, and then at this one particular stand, there's a guy with a mic, and he's got it in the mouth there, and he's holding this driver, and there's about 150 people or more, maybe, I don't watch it, and he said, ladies and gentlemen, the club golfer, this is what he wants. Because the club golfer wants more consistency and more length, and this is the club that's going to do it. And I said, excuse me, I've never heard such bollocks in all my life. I said, I said, first is you're going to have a new one out tomorrow that's going to give him more and it's going to give him more of both. I said, but you've still got the same problem holding the handle. The club isn't going to do it. It's the body that does it. It's the person that does it. And you can spend £450 on a driver. How much bigger can the sweet spot get, and how much further do you think it's going to hit it? It might give you 5 yards. Well, in 12 weeks, I can put 20 yards on anybody's drive. You're just getting through a program of flexibility. It's just crazy. The club isn't going to do it. The club is delivered by the body. It's being in the body that does it. It's being aware of what your body is doing that does it, and how the body delivers the club face. That's what it's about. And if people want to really understand what their game is about, then they need to experience what the body is doing, and then know what the difference is when it's done right and when it's not done right, and to accommodate as well, as they get older, the physical limitations. But you know what? I've seen some incredibly supple and flexible guys in their 80s. Incredible. In fact, a mate of mine, Dave Shepherd, he was struggling with his distance. He plays off 4, David. You know, he's a good golfer. He's 65 years of age, and he's a small guy, petite guy. And we actually played at the Belfry one time. And he wasn't hitting the ball 200 yards off the tee. And we went to see the club fitter, and he made a few changes and whatever. But what Dave did, he embarked on a program about 18 months ago with a personal trainer and whatever, and we talked about the need for flexibility in turn. He had a turn on his driver of about 72 degrees. He's got more stability, and he can now rotate to 93 degrees on his thing. He's put about 40-50 yards on his drives. He hasn't bought a new club. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that you go in there and the new club is going to make you a better player. It is not going to make you a better player.
So
the better player comes from within.
On that basis, you're talking about physics and small changes increasing club head speed, aren't we?
Okay,
when you relate that, it's physics, isn't it?
Yeah. Club head speed comes from rotation, doesn't it? And setting up a lag. Yeah.
And of course, we do talk about hitting enormous distances off the tee, but quite often hitting the ball shorter with a 2-iron, a 5-iron, and then hitting a decent wedge in is the way to play the hole, isn't it?
Well, I can't tell you, Jed, how many people have said to me that they leave the driver in the bag and they hit the 3-wood much sweeter, much more consistently, and into the middle of the fairway, and the distance they lose is negligible, because they make a better contact more often, and the ball travels easier. They don't put so much effort into it, and away you go. Look, how many times realistically, for example at Rowney, particularly when it's dry, do club members need to hit a driver?
Well, there's one hole in particular. It's the 4th, isn't it? The 4th is the one. You're better off hitting a 5-iron off the tee and a wedge in, because you take anything bigger than that, you're in trouble.
Well, you know, with respect, you know, Jed, most people would need probably a bit more than a 4. You hit the ball a good old distance. Yeah. You know, but you know, most people don't need a driver. They can get away with a utility wood or whatever. They don't need a driver. And you know, it's very few holes that need a driver. And you know what? Let's take something like let's take the 7th at Rowney. You know, for a lot of club golfers, even if they take the driver out, they can't get on the hole in 2. So they might as well knock a shorter club, knock it up, knock it on. You know. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense at all. This obsession for thinking that they're going to become a better player if they knock it 5 and 10 yards further just isn't going to happen. And the club isn't going to make the difference. The answer to all of this is within the body of the person holding the club.
I'm going to ask you.
That's where it is.
I'm going to ask you one question before we wind it up, because we'll be coming up to 45 minutes. So thank you very much for your time, and it's been brilliant. It's always fun speaking to you, John. You're just a gold mine of Inspiration, not information, inspiration.
Really?
Now, something that's been tickling my fancy for years, really, and it's when you stand on the tee, do you aim down the middle, or do you aim down the left flank or the right flank of the fairway, depending on your normal or regular shape of shot?
Right.
What do you do? This has bemused me for a while, because when I'm kind of in form, I think I'm a regular drawer, so I can send it down the right, and then I've got, say, 80 yards of fairway. If I aim down the middle of the fairway, I've only got 40 yards either side of the middle, if you know what I mean, which kind of reduces my target area.
Right. Okay. Well, look, you've answered the question yourself, haven't you? Look, it's probably a loaded question, wasn't it, really? But there we go. Look, most people hit the ball left to right. Most people can't play a draw, but I can get people to play a draw in next to no time. Remember, it's the shot that dictates the swing, not the swing that dictates the shot. But most people don't believe they can hit the shot right to left, left to right. But they can. The body can work it out. It just needs a little practice. But let's assume you stand on the first tee at Rowney Golf Club. And and most people hit it left to right, and the fairway kicks left to right. If you've got 10 yards of left to right as your standard swing, if that's the swing you've got on the day, and you want to end up in the left-hand side of the fairway, in the centre of the fairway, if that's where you want to end up, then you start 10 yards left, or even a little bit more to allow for the kick. And if the wind's off the left, it's a little bit more. If the wind's off the right, it's not so much. You just stand behind the ball, and you make an allowance for your swing that you have, that your go-to stock swing, and you hit it on the line, which allows the ball to finish at your target line, on your target spot. You see, you've got to remember that where you want the ball to end up, be it on the green, in the hole, or whatever. I mean, most people will turn around to me as well. They'll look at the flag from 100 odd yards or whatever, and I'll say, "Where's your target?" And they'll say, "The flag." I say, "The flag's never your target. The flag can never be your target. If the flag's you hit the target, you're never going to end up there. If you pitch it right by the flag, it's never going to end up there. Your target is left of the flag, right of the flag, left of the fairway, right of the fairway, and you allow for your shot, and it ends up where you want to be. Now, if it's the middle of the fairway you want to end up, and you end up you're 5 yards right, or 5 yards left, or 10 yards right, or 10 yards, as long as you're in the range, you're not going to be far away, are you? It's just not going to be far away.
I love what you said the other day about it's not the shot you're playing now, it's your next shot you want to be thinking about where that's from.
Yeah, well, look. If you are again left to right, is there any real problem being down the right-hand side of the first hole at Rowney if you hit it left to right? There's no real problem, is there?
Not really.
There's no real problem. If you are, it doesn't make any real difference. But clearly, if you've got a problem shot coming in, I mean, let's look at the fifth hole at Rowney, and that third shot or fourth shot or whatever. I mean, I am saying to people that if you've got a problem with getting over the hill and whatever, and you've got landing problems, whatever, then you really got to make sure that you plan your approach shot to be at the best place. So it takes a lot of doubt out and knock it way up the left. Knock it way up the left. Of course you have to plan it and you have to strategize. Of course you do. But if you know you've got a problem there, you can accommodate for that. It's not difficult. But then, and if you can, I mean, I had a big argument some years ago with some in the group that I was in, and this coach came on and said it's my job to get people out of their comfort zone. I said, you're talking rubbish, man. It's your job to put them in it.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can't play out of your comfort zone. You got to be in a place on the course in your comfort zone. That's where you've got to be. And if people know what the shot is and what their body can deliver, then they can get in the comfort zone more often, can't they?
Well,
so where the ball ends up is one thing. Sending the ball to that target and allowing for your shot is something totally different. And you know, it's no use expecting to end up in the middle of the fairway if you've got a 10-yard left to right basic swing, and you hit it down the middle of the fairway, you're certainly going to end up at least 10 yards right to where you want to be.
Well, what a great way to finish our chat this evening, in the comfort zone. And funnily enough, you're actually in the comfort zone now, by the looks of things. So.
Oh. Listen, I've got 7 grandchildren and one of the friends here staying tonight, which is a bit of a surprise. So I'm here out the way while the bed's getting prepared and all sorts. So I've got to go and get some supper ready, I think now.
I'll get your earplugs in.
I'm always in the comfort zone, mate. It's no point being anywhere else, is it?
Oh,
but it's nice to talk to you. I am really pleased that the guys that are engaging with this coaching and the way it's been coached are just finding it so beneficial. They are, and they seem to be enjoying it so much as well. It's great. It's really great to see.
Absolutely fantastic. I'll just put you on mute and say goodbye, and we'll chat again just in a few minutes. Okay.
Thank you for that, Jed. And can I just say it was a pleasure and very much a surprise. So, thanks for the call.
Lovely. Thank you, John. Thank you. So there you go. That's John Tinsley, a superb coach. He's done a lot for my game, I must say, not just on my ball striking ability, but actually on my enjoyment of playing 18 holes at any course with anyone, really. John, he's certainly worth seeing for a coaching session. Contact him on Tee It Up, his Facebook page, or message me direct. Well, that was our first broadcast on Golf Pirate TV. Had a bit of an experience tonight handling the equipment and so forth, but I hope you enjoyed it. So please subscribe to the channel. We'll have a more regular output with various people we can talk to on the Isle of Man and beyond about our beloved game. And subscribe if you'd like to. I think all the YouTubers say that. So we'll leave you with it. Thank you very much.